Frugal people known for being thrifty, watching every penny, and overspending? Here's the thing about frugal people. Everyone finds themselves in situations where they are tempted to rationalize the overspend. And that goes for frugal people and non-frugal people. And part of figuring out how to not overspend is to understand the reasons that it's happening.
If you don't know us, I'm Larry.
And I'm Hope.
And we're from Under the Median, where every week we bring you videos on practical frugality.
First reason that people might overspend is necessity. They look at something sitting on a shelf and think, I need it now. All of a sudden, it becomes something that they feel like they can't live without. And sometimes this happens because a friend has that same item and you're like, oh, they like it so much, I should get it too. There are a lot of different reasons why all of a sudden that shiny bauble might seem like something you have to have right this minute.
What you have to think about at that time is it really necessary? Do I have to have this item? And the second thing you might want to think about is, do I need it right now?
Urgency.
Could this be waited on, and could we put this in our budget and save our money over a period of time for this item?
Yeah, urgency, what I just said. It's the fact that you look at it and you sense that urgency to buy it now. But if you would take just a beat and think about it, sometimes you'll figure out that it's really not that urgent. It all comes down to that magic word that I say all the time on this channel. Let's say it together, prioritize. When you have a list of your priorities, it's really much easier to look at that thing sitting on the shelf and thinking, wait a minute, let's figure out what my top priorities are. And if this thing really is urgent, if it really is necessary right now, where does it fit in that list of priorities? Sometimes you'll find out, yeah, I really want to buy it. I need it right now. And sometimes you'll find out, nope, not necessary.
Once you've figured all of that into it, the next thing that you need to look at is, how will purchasing this item affect my other written items in my budget? Remember, your budget is fixed. It's a fixed amount. And the more you pull from that budget, that's going to affect everything else that you already have in the budget.
Here's something else that I should have written, and that's goals. We are huge proponents of written goals. All goals should have several things associated with them. You should know exactly what you're saving for, the amount of time in which you're going to save that money, and how much money that you are saving. Once you have those three things, your written list of goals, you put it in front of you and track your progress. That is like the golden key to reaching those goals, is taking those steps.
And once again, if you really need this item, it'll have to go into that prioritized list in some order or another, and that will help you to have some time to spend to save up for that item.
Larry and I have three different kinds of written goals. We have quarterly goals, monthly goals, and weekly goals that we call our big three. If you want our help on helping you to learn more about goals, we put all of our goal forms and we put our very best advice on reaching great big goals, and we put it into Goal-Wise, a Frugal Life Planner.
The nice thing about all of those goals, the three that she just talked about, is that they are interrelated, and the lower goals tend to support the higher dollar amount goals. So there is quite a bit of interreaction between all three categories.
Vera got Goal-Wise, and she sent us a note and said, you know, this whole idea of quarterly goals, it was mind-blowing for me. Once I saw how easy and how simple it was, it made it so efficient to be able to make the goals and track them.
And Glenda writes, we used Goal-Wise to plan her homeschool, professional, and educational goals. She said that she wished she had invested in Goal-Wise a long time ago.
Goal-Wise, guys, we'll put a link to it in the description of the video. The second reason that you might be justifying your overspending habit is that you are finding things that are an exceptional value.
Stores tend to put certain items on sale to get you in there and to get you buying items. This is particularly true of the big box stores. They'll put an item which is actually under their cost in order to attract buyers. They also put them on end caps. As you walk down the main aisles, you'll see a lot of end caps with really cheap merchandise on it. Exceptional values to get your attention and to get your money.
Doorbusters. That's exactly why stores have doorbusters at 6 a.m. on Black Friday. It's because it's those doorbusters that get people in the store. And once you're in there with hundreds of other people, you're going to finish your Christmas shopping while you are standing in that store. It gets you in the door.
Special occasions is another reason for why we can overspend. You have a special occasion that's showing up on your calendar. It might be a birthday for a young one. It might be Christmas. It might be a wedding where you have to purchase a really nice wedding gift. And it's really easy to get caught up in the Joneses kind of thinking, well, what is some of my neighbors going to spend on these items, and how much therefore should I spend in order to be equal and not be thought of as being cheap?
I'm going to challenge you with something, and we've been caught up in this too, so I'm not pointing fingers, all right?
Yeah, we've done it.
Ultimately, are you telling yourself, I must show love by spending money? Does the amount of money spent equal the amount of love? No judgment from us, just mull that over. Number 4, investment in the future. Well, if I get this now, then it'll last me for a really long time, or I'm going to need it down the road. So I might as well just go ahead and get it now.
One of those items could be a car. That's something you might need literally down the road. And it's real easy, especially if you find one that's fairly inexpensive, to maybe buy that a little ahead of what you're really ready or planning to spend that money on.
Here is something else that people tend to invest in, and then they're expecting to see that dividend down the road. And that is investing in classes or further education.
Yeah.
Interesting story. I was just at a scholarship banquet for our son, Daniel, who is studying high school education. He received a scholarship specifically for people who are studying in the education field. And the lady who had funded the scholarships for the education students was at the table with us. And she was a lifelong educator. And so the kids, it was so fun to watch because they got the opportunity to ask her a lot of probing questions about their future vocation and what they should think about. And one of the questions that was posed was, should I get my master's? And she said, first of all, teach for a while before you get your master's, because you don't even know when you start teaching what you want your master's in.
Yeah.
And she said, the second thing to always ask yourself is, how is that going to change down the road for me? Am I going to get paid more? Is it something that is really going to further a direction I want to go? If you're not sure you want to go in that direction, or you're not sure exactly how much more you're going to be paid, it may not be worth it to invest in that further degree. She said, do it. I mean, she got her master's, but she said, interestingly, when she first started teaching, she was convinced she wanted to get her master's in special ed, which is what her undergrad was in. And she wound up going into administration, and she wasn't even really sure she would like it. And she wound up really enjoying administration, just for different reasons than classroom teaching. So anyway, so that's my story about thinking about investing in something like an educational type experience that's going to maybe pay off down the road, something you might want to think about.
Another category in this issue would be emotional well-being. You might want to spend a certain amount of money on a vacation to get some stress relieved. You know, we all need to have stress relieved, and sometimes a nice vacation, getting away from everything, getting away from your normal set of routines can really help out. Another thing that could help out in this area would be getting maybe some therapeutic counseling. All these things, though, can add up to extra money, and you got to be careful how much money you throw into this category that you might end up being tempted to overspend on.
I will say that I think counseling is a whole different, that goes into almost a different category, because I mean, yes, it's for your emotional well-being, but there are a lot of really solid reasons for getting counseling if you feel like you need counseling. I think that that's a good investment of time and perhaps of money.
And that could be seen as a medical expense
Yeah, it could.
instead of a general expense.
Yeah, but I think, like you're talking like deep tissue massages and things like that. That's what I think of when I'm thinking of. Tell us what you think in the comments section. When we say, things you're going to spend money on for emotional well-being, what comes to your mind? For me, it was like the deep tissue massage, that kind of thing that would help me to feel a lot less stressed. But it's going to cost me some money.
And for me, it's a Chick-fil-A chocolate milkshake.
My
I mean,
Lord.
that really makes me feel so much better.
Which is a lot less expensive than deep therapeutic tissue massage, I'm just going to say.
$5.
Oh my goodness.
Good deal.
Reason number 6 that frugal people tend to overspend is generosity.
Yeah.
Once again, just like we're huge proponents of setting written goals, we are huge proponents of being generous.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Even when we were raising 4 kids on a low income, we always tithed 10% before we even made our budget. To us, that was like a non-negotiable. We were going to do our 10% tithe. But we always had a little bit of money set aside for generosity. And this was a question that was asked really recently on a coffee chat. Somebody wanted to know when we were really going for goals, what was our giving budget? And I was thinking the generosity budget. And I said, it was $20 a month. No, our tithe was different than our generosity budget. Our generosity budget was $20 a month when we were saving up for great big goals. But thankfully, as we've gotten more financially stable, we've been able to grow that and make it a little larger. But we think it is really important to be generous to those around you. Here's where the caveat comes in. How generous? You have to put boundaries on everything. When you are frugal, what will happen is over time, you will pay off your debt. Over time, you will become debt free. Over time, you will accrue some money. Over time, you will have people at your front door asking for said money. What we always did was we set a budget at the first of the year for our generosity budget.
We did.
And then we just waited to see who we felt led to give the money to. And we made sure that, by the way, that you're investing it in organizations that are going to use it responsibly.
Generally speaking, we actually, as Hope was saying, we budgeted for the generosity giving. We actually had an individual in mind. She was a widow. She was still raising her kids. In fact, she just had her last child right after her husband passed away.
Yeah.
And she was a lovely woman, a beautiful Christian woman who actually helped Hope get started at homeschooling. And so we knew her well. She was a good friend, and we budgeted a certain amount each month and each year in order to help supplement her income. And that was really good. It was good planning that Hope and I put into a good effort, I thought.
Yeah, as her kids got older and she no longer needed our help as much, we kept that established fund and we called it the Widows and Orphans Fund, and we still do. We still help single moms. We help those who are without one or both parents, and we also help folks who are adopting children. So that's what that fund, for us, that's what that generosity fund looks like.
And we've helped couples where maybe the husband had been recently diagnosed with cancer and could no longer work full-time at his regular job. So there are some really good things. I would suggest finding some people that you know or know of the person that you're helping, and that way you know for sure that your money is going to a good cause.
Here's something you can do that is generous for us. Could you guys just take a hot second and go find that thumbs up button, that like button on this video, and could you punch it for us so that you can help us to let YouTube know that you want to see more content just like this. And if you're not subscribed, by the way, make sure you subscribe while you're up there, like right by the like button. Subscribe, hit that bell notification button. 7th reason that frugal people may want to be a little bit over generous and spend a little bit too much.
Well, delayed gratification is an element that we try to put into all of our budget categories. Rarely do you ever need something right now. Most of the time, there's a waiting period that you can put into place in order to, number one, determine if you really do need that item or not. A little bit of time can help you decide that, and then a little bit of time can also help you save up that money so you've got it, it's clear from your budget, and you're not overspending.
So delayed gratification, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So how could that possibly have a flip side? Here's the flip side of delayed gratification. And Larry and I experienced this every January for years and years. It happened to us every January. We held ourselves down so tightly during the year that the minute January 1st rolled around and we realized that we had made it, our budget was in the black, we'd saved some money, we went, thank goodness, we did it. And we spent money like there was no tomorrow. I mean, not for us like there was no tomorrow. We maybe went out to eat,
It wasn't a major amount of money.
But for us, it was a splurge. So we would, and consistently for years, every January, I was like, what is wrong with our budget? And I'm like, we took that deep breath and just went, all right, January, we can spend a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the flip side of delayed gratification. It is a really positive tool to help you reach goals, but it also can be a tool that if you've held yourself down so tight and not taken those moments throughout the year when you like reach some benchmarks to have a little mini celebration, that come January, you're going to do exactly what we did. And you're going to say, I'm just going to spend me some money.
It's good to have a little bit of that figured into your budget, to have some joy in some of that extra spending that you normally can't do. I think that's okay. We didn't spend a great deal of money when we did that, but it was fun to have a little extra to work with.
The eighth reason, and this is an interesting one, that people can tend to overspend even if they are frugal, is their kids. Extracurricular activities. Can I get an amen?
Yeah.
We have had so many parents who have written and said, I want to live on a budget. I want to be thrifty. I want to be frugal, but I'm afraid my kids will resent me if I tell them they have to give up one or two of the 4 extracurricular activities, clubs, lessons, whatever that they are in. That's a tough thing for parents, but I think there are so many lessons for kids to learn. And especially if you take that time that your kids were spending on that other activity and say, we're going to spend some special time together as a family. We're going to go for walks. We're going to play board games. We're going to make homemade pizza. We're going to have movie night. We're going to fill that void with family time together. Almost any kid is going to line up and say, me, 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 me. If I get more time with mom and dad, I will give this up and do it gladly.
Health and well-being is another very important category that we all consider. We want our long-term health to be good so that we're able to enjoy life. And that might mean eating organic. It might mean belonging to a gym. It might mean doing an activity that costs a little bit extra money. And we have to decide what our priorities are, how it fits in, and make sure that we've carefully planned for each of those activities, and try to find some activities that may not cost as much as they could otherwise. I think there's some budget things that we can do to help our health. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, Hope and I love eating organic, but we don't eat everything organic. There's a farm that supplies quite a bit of our food through the summer. It's not technically an organic farm because they're a little bit close to some non-organic farms, but they themselves don't put any additives into any of their food. Well, that's a compromise that we're willing to make in order to not spend as much money on, quote, organic food, but we're still getting food that doesn't have a lot of the preservatives and additives that other foods have.
Speaking of our community-supported agriculture farm, that's one way that we support a small local business.
Yes,
we have several other small local businesses that we like to support when we can.
Yeah.
But small local businesses, that's also a way that frugal people can tend to justify spending too much money. Our advice is always figure out the best way that you can support those businesses without blowing out your budget. We think small local businesses should be sustained and they should be around for a really long time. But we also think that you can't walk in and blow out your budget every month and believe that that's going to be okay.
I think it needs to be something that's really included in your budget. For instance, one of our local businesses is a coffee shop. It's CXT Coffee, and we love their coffee, but that doesn't mean we can go up there every night and get a cup of coffee from them. It means that once a month we can get maybe a pound of coffee or a half a pound of coffee from their shop to help support them. So once again, you kind of take everything with planning going into it first stage, and then you can afford to do some of those things.
You missed it. You were talking about the size of the bag, and I said, big bag.
Oh,
All right, the next way.
it wouldn't be hard to talk me into
No,
that.
it wouldn't. The next way that frugal people can tend to say, yep, I'm going to spend that money and I'm going to make it okay in my own mind, is that we want to be a friend to the environment.
Yeah.
We do too.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways that you can be green while saving green. It's true. The nice part about it is that being green and saving green kind of can go together an awful lot. There's an awful lot of natural type products and cleaning supplies and all kinds of stuff that you can create from inexpensive ingredients that are environmentally sustainable, and then you're helping the environment be green and you are saving green at the same time. It's a lovely relationship.
One small way that I like to do that is use a small power station, put it out in the backyard with a solar panel through the daytime, charge that up, and then run some lighter items off of it. Our vacuum cleaner, a coffee maker, some of our lights. That way we're not using energy off of the grid. It's going to be a little bit cheaper for us, and it's something that we can do to kind of be a little on the green side.
We try to convince ourselves that when it comes to work-related activities, you got to be a team member to get ahead.
Yeah.
You got to go to that coffee hour or that cocktail hour. You got to attend that meeting. You got to buy your seat at the table of whatever charitable event that your company is helping to sponsor a table. You have to put your $20 or $30, good heavens, in the hat to buy somebody a birthday gift every time they pass that hat around. This can be we've heard from a lot of viewers, this is a huge problem for them, that they feel like every time they walk in their office, somebody's hand is out like this.
Yeah.
Good causes? Absolutely. Well, I don't know somebody's birthday, but somebody, supporting somebody's kid, helping them, their band or something like that. All right. That would be a handout. That would be a lot more easy for me to put some money into than it would be somebody's birthday fund. You got to set some parameters there. You have to.
Frankly, with Hope and I, with helping the widow family and with helping our church, tithing to our church, we pretty much limited it to those two things while we were really trying to save money to get this house that we're in. We had to set some limits, and sometimes you can't be that real popular person at work if you're going to do those things, but you have to figure out what's the most important thing for you to do.
This next one can be an area of overspending, but I will tell you that Larry rocked this, man, when our kids were growing up and he needed to find some money for his hobbies.
Oh yeah, hobbies. Well, one of the ways I would find some money for a hobby, I would take that hobby and make some money with the hobby. If I bought a camera to use for our family, then I would use that camera to shoot some weddings, video cameras, what I'm talking about, or to transfer some old films for other clients. And I would take that money then and put it toward the purchase of that equipment so that I wasn't taking any money out of our budget in order to have some nice things.
And with always, guys, context is everything. We have never and will never tell you how to spend your hard-earned money. If you want to do any of these things, and they're all noble things to spend your money on, or most of them are noble things to spend your money on, and you can fit it in your budget, by all means, do it.
Yeah.
Some of the very things that Larry and I have shared with you so far in this video about why overspending takes place are also things that we ourselves do because we are passionate and we care about it. And you should too. You should have some things in your life that are super important to you.
Yes.
But make sure that it's a line item. Make sure that it's in the budget, and make sure you're not consistently overspending, because you will sabotage some of the other goals and the things that are super important to you down the line.
Right. When it comes to frugality, there are some quantifiable metrics that you need to consider and be very wary of and careful of. But there's more to it than just that.
That's right. There is more to frugality than just saving money. Now, if you want our 2 cents on what you should be paying attention to when it comes to frugality, what other metrics are there you really should be looking at? We did a video on it, guys. It's right over there.